Hello and welcome to this week's Science Summary. I hope everyone's enjoying the holidays. Let's get right into it. We got one of the greatest Christmas presents, the James Webb Telescope, the most ambitious, costly robot probe ever built. The 10 billion James Webb Telescope was blasted off into space on top of a giant European rocket. Engineers reported on Saturday that the observatory, which was plagued by decades of delays and huge cost overruns, was operating perfectly after going through the most nervous watch liftoff in history. Described as a time machine by scientists, the telescope will allow astronomers to study the beginning of the universe shortly after Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago, and it will haunt the signs of life supporting planets in our galaxy. We just have to wait for it to unfold and charge its batteries. A group of international scientists have stated that an Antarctic ice shelf that is holding back a doomsday glacier from escaping into the sea has started to loosen and could collapse within 5 years. The findings from the study were published in the annual American Geophysical Union on December 13th. The Waits is the widest glacier on Earth, with a width of roughly 120 kilometers. This means that its surface area exceeds that of Florida. The Waits breaking off from the seafloor is considered to be a doomsday scenario because it could melt and raise sea levels up 25% and flood communities of millions living in coastal cities. Scientists say that its collapse could also weaken and trigger more collapse from other nearby glaciers in Antarctica, further exacerbating the dangers of global sea level rising. On to dinosaurs. Scientists have announced the discovery of a perfectly preserved dinosaur embryo that was preparing to hatch from its egg, just like a chicken. The embryo was discovered in Guangzhou in southern China, and researchers estimate to be at least 66 million years old. It is believed to be a toothless tetrapod dinosaur that was named Baby Jinglang. The discovery has given researchers a greater understanding of the link between dinosaurs and birds. The fossil also shows that embryos was a curled-up position, known as tucking, which is a behavior seen in birds shortly before they hatch. The egg was uncovered in 2000, but put into storage for 10 years. It was only when construction began on the museum that the old fossils were being sorted through and researchers turned their attention to the egg. Now on to the last main topic. We can predict severe rain and windstorms, and now we may be able to predict deadly tsunamis using their magnetic fields. Because seawater is electrically conductive, when a significant amount of it moves at once, it generates a small magnetic field. That magnetic field can be used to predict tsunamis before the sea level starts to change at the shore. Right now, we have pressure sensors. Pressure sensors respond to the tsunami right after the tsunami level changes. But tsunami magnetic field arrives earlier than the tsunami sea level change. And not only that, this combined with the fact that this change in magnetic field predict the height of the tsunami waves could help coastal communities prepare for incoming tsunamis way before they actually hit. On to the science snips. NASA unveiled a 50-second audio clip from one of Juno's Ganymede's flyby that sounds similar to that of a robot or dial-up modem. The audio comes from data gathered by Juno's Wave instrument, designed to measure radio and plasma waves detected in Jupiter's magnetic sphere. The bubble of charged particles that envelop the gas giant Ganymede is Jupiter's largest moon and the only moon in the solar system to have the sphere around it. The mission's data collected from the Ganymede was shifted into the audio ranges to make the recording, according to the agency. Now on to solar power. As part of U.S. efforts to counter climate change and achieve a carbon-free power sector by 2035, the Department of Interior announced that it would approve 2 solar projects, with a third closing and completion on public land in Riverside County, California. The Bureau of Land Management approved 2 projects that will generate up to 465 megawatts of electricity, enough to power approximately 132,000 homes. Next, we go into space. SpaceX launched human muscle cells into space as part of a micro-age study, which aims to understand what happens to human muscle cells as people age. The lab-grown human muscle cells, which are the size of a grain of rice, were put into small 3D printed holders. Once the muscle cells are put into space, they will be electrically stimulated and induced. The purpose of sending human tissues to space is that the researchers want to compare the similarities and differences of human tissues and the lack of gravity in space versus on Earth. As astronauts' muscles become weaker, just like aging, to help determine why human muscle cells become weaker as they get older and help prevent the effects of aging. Speaking of SpaceX, Elon Musk shared a video on Twitter of a successful Starship Super Heavy engine steering test. Each Raptor 1 engine produces 185 metric tons of force. Raptor 2 just started production and will do 230 plus tons and over 500,000 pounds of force. And lastly, to conclude, we have future meat technology. Historic 347 million Series B roundup shows that meat giants like Tyson are continuing to support the growth of cultured meat. Future Meat Technologies have announced that they have managed to produce cultivated chicken breasts for just $7.70 per pound, down from $18 per pound just 6 months ago. This move could see lab-grown meat making the rounds in supermarkets everywhere. That's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed and happy holidays. See you in 2022.